welcome to Theories and Thrones, a show where fans can come together and completely geek out over Game of Thrones' final season. I'm Leanne Aguilera from Entertainment Tonight.
And I'm Mike Greyjoy from GameSpot. Game of Thrones' 8th and final season is just a few days away, so today we're going to be breaking down a few of our favorite fan theories.
I'm so excited. And the best part of Theories and Thrones is that we are currently live right now, and we want to hear from all of you, because we know that the GOT fandom has a lot of thoughts. So start commenting below with your favorite theories about what you think is going to happen in these last 6 episodes, and Mike and I will be reading them throughout the show, and then a big cluster at the end.
We also have an exclusive interview with the legend himself, author George R. R. Martin. He spilled some brand new answers about his books and also the one storyline he wished had made it into the show, which I happen to agree with.
Yes, we completely agree with him. But let's dive into the first theory that we want to highlight, and that is that Jaime will kill Cersei.
This is a common theory.
Very common theory.
It's been out there for a long time, but it's also one of my favorites because I think it's one that makes the most sense.
Definitely. So the essential kind of breakdown for this one is all linked to the flashback at the start of season 5. So as a kid, Cersei visited a woods witch named Maggie the Frog, who told her things like she would have 3 kids and the king would have 20. And her kids would wear golden shrouds and golden crowns.
Right, i.e. they would be dead.
They're gonna die.
So all of that was in the show, and so far all of her prophecies have come true.
Yeah.
But in the books, there was actually more to that scene. Maggie also predicted that Cersei would die at the hands of someone called the Valonqar, which is High Valyrian for little brother. So in the books, that kind of fueled her hatred of her younger brother Tyrion for like their entire lives.
Yeah.
Now, obviously in the show, she has plenty of motivation for hating Tyrion, including believing that he killed her son, King Joffrey.
Yeah, he also killed her father.
It makes sense that they, would feel like they could cut that.
Yeah.
But the prophecy might have other meanings. For example, although Cersei and Jaime are twins, as everybody knows, he was actually born shortly after her. So
he's her little brother.
Right. Technically, he's also her little brother. So Jaime killing Cersei could fulfill this prophecy.
Yeah.
Then again, the last time we saw him, he was like riding as far in the other direction as he could get. So who knows?
Yeah, and alternately, if Cersei really is pregnant, well, there's the theory that she'll die in childbirth. The new baby would be a little brother to her other children, which would make it the Valonqar. But as Maggie predicted that Cersei would only have 3 kids, I'm thinking this pregnancy will probably not end well for her, if it's even real in the first place, because truly I do not believe a word she says.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I don't understand like how Tyrion is like, it seems like she's putting on an act.
That's so that Tyrion would see it and it just, we don't buy it. We don't buy it. Tell us in the comments right now, though, do you think she's really pregnant? Do you think Jaime will kill Cersei? Tell us all your thoughts. But right now, Mike, I want to talk to you because you are a die-hard Game of Thrones book fan. And I know you were, let's say, bummed that this one huge storyline has been missing from the show. Kick us off with your theory about the other Aegon Targaryen.
Right, the other Aegon Targaryen, because Jon Snow's real name is Aegon Targaryen, as we found out last season. But so I guess this is a book spoiler.
Kind of.
But if you haven't read the books, they're like years, go read them.
Go read them.
Anyway, there's another Aegon Targaryen in the books. This one is allegedly the true-born son of Rhaegar Targaryen, who is Dany's brother, and Elia Martell. The story goes when the Baratheons and Starks and Lannisters rebelled against the Mad King Aerys, which is long before the show started. This is history. Tywin Lannister had the Mountain, who we all know, hunt down and kill Elia Martell and her kids to ensure there would be no more Targaryens left after Aerys had and Rhaegar died.
Yeah.
This is what the Red Viper was so pissed about in season 4, as we all remember.
You raped her, you murdered her, you killed her children, and then the head exploded.
Yeah, we were all traumatized together. So the corpses that the Mountain returned with were unrecognizable because he's such a butthead. He smashed their heads against a wall, famously. So everybody just assumed that it was the right kids, but the books eventually revealed this plot between Varys and Illyrio and Rhaegar's friend Jon Connington and a mercenary band called the Golden Company.
So supposedly baby Aegon was switched with another kid before the Mountain did his dirty deed, and the real Aegon has been kind of growing up in Essos with the Golden Company.
Yeah, and this relates, like the Golden Company has its own history.
Yeah.
In the books, the Golden Company was founded by a faction of rebel Targaryen bastards called the Blackfyres. There were wars, they rebelled against Targaryen rule like multiple times. and they're dedicated to seeing their family returned to the Iron Throne. It's like a whole mess in the books that the show hasn't really touched on. But importantly, this is the Golden Company. Cersei, at the end of season 7, hired the Golden Company.
Finally.
She sent Euron with the Iron Fleet to pick them up in Essos, bring them back to Westeros to help defend her throne. If their story in the show has anything to do with their story in the books, that's probably not going to end well for her.
I really don't know that it will. And it's kind of interesting because I feel like you were saying that in the books at the time, Dany was kind of dealing with the Marine stuff when all this was happening, so the timelines are all completely off.
Right, the timeline is it doesn't work in the show the way that it did in the books. Like by the time that Aegon is introduced in the books, Dany is still ruling Marine. She's still doing all that stuff, and Aegon is like, he's the first Targaryen to make it back to Westeros in the books. He's like making alliances, taking castles. It's awesome, frankly. So, you know.
But with the Golden Company finally being introduced in season 8, could some version of could some version of the storyline still happen? Yeah,
we saw that in the trailer, one of the most recent trailers for season 8. That is the Golden Company. That is Harry Strickland, who I guess is he's a character from the books, and he's their leader in the show. I really hope that they do some version of the Golden Company storyline from the books. Otherwise, they're just a bunch of dummies with a fancy name.
And allegedly elephants.
Yeah.
But fair enough. I love this theory, but with only 6 episodes to go, I'd be really shocked if the writers tried to squeeze in this twist into there. It just seems like too much, too fast. What do you guys think? Do you think we need to see Aegon Targaryen? Tell us in the comments.
There's one more theory that we wanted to chat about, and it's centered on the Night King.
The Night King. We have so many thoughts about the Night King.
This theory, bear with me, is that maybe the Night King, not such a bad guy.
Maybe he's not such a bad guy.
He's okay. This theory's been around for a long time in one form or another. Basically, the idea is that the idea of the Night King as like this classical fantasy, like Dark Lord style evil villain, it just doesn't fit with like the message and the themes of this series.
Exactly. And one version of this really great theory was articulated really well in a Reddit post from a few years ago that we will post to in a link after this live. And the post cites a 2011 interview with George R.R. Martin where he says that although he admires Tolkien and gives him credit for basically creating the modern fantasy, the tropes of good versus evil, and that good guys will triumph over bad guys in fantasy, quote, have become kind of a cartoon. And he wants to do something different.
Yeah, so if the Night King isn't evil because he wants to do something different than just, you know, classic good versus evil, what is the Night King? There's a lot of theories about this. We saw the White Walker's creation in a flashback with Bran in the show, which is a moment that we still haven't seen in the books. That's show only.
Yeah.
But maybe the Children of the Forest are the real bad guys. Maybe the White Walkers are just like they're pawns or they're misunderstood somehow.
Oh, I was so upset when that happened.
Maybe as some people think, the Night King used to be Bran.
Oh, God.
And there's some time travel stuff involved, and he has more complicated reasons for marching south.
Honestly, though, I'm so sick of the Night King theory is Bran. Like, I'm sorry, it's a bad theory.
I hate that theory.
Everyone's just like latched onto it, and I'm just tired of it.
It's terrible.
Maybe as that Reddit post predicts, humans are the real villains of the story, and the White Walkers are marching south to prevent Dany from destroying the whole world with fire and blood, like she keeps threatening.
Yeah, that seems to be like her biggest instinct. Whenever something is going wrong, she's like, well, I'll just burn it down.
Dracarys.
Dracarys.
She's just like, nope.
Yeah, so who knows what's going to happen in season 8. One way or another, we're going to get an answer to that question, though. And I'm going to be very disappointed if it's just, you know, nope, the White Walkers are evil and you overthought this.
And there's nothing else to it. Yeah. But speaking of being disappointed, we're still waiting on our last 2 books from the ruler of the realm, Mr. George R.R. Martin. So when I caught up with him at the Game of Thrones premiere last week, I asked him for an update, plus I tried to coax a few more secrets out of him. Take a look. There are so many storylines that they've been able to fit into the show, but of course, not as many as that were in the books. What is one storyline from the books that you would have loved to have seen make its way into the show?
Lady Stoneheart. That's certainly the book I'm writing now. That's an important thread. But as you say, there's so much there. Even with a novel of ordinary size, when you adapt it for a television film, it usually involves cutting and simplifying. And my books are not books of ordinary length. I mean, even Game of Thrones, which is actually the smallest of them, is like 4 regular novels. So there was a lot to do. If we'd included everything in the books, we'd still be on season 1. It would have been an 8-year-long season 1. They're hard choices sometimes, but that's the business.
Give me that book update. How are you doing with the writing? Do you have a date for us?
I have no date. I've given up giving dates because I give one and then I miss it and everybody gets mad. It'll be done when it's done. It's been going very well lately, so knock wood.
So with this finale of Game of Thrones, will this necessarily be the same ending that is going to be in your books as well?
Well, we'll have to see, won't we? I don't want to spoil my books or the show. So watch both and read the book and you decide.
I'm still annoyed that the show didn't do Lady Stoneheart. I understand what George is saying there. Obviously, there's an overwhelming amount of source material, but I still would have loved to see Catelyn Stark again. That moment in the epilogue of Storm of Swords was one of my favorite reveals in the entire series. I still remember the first time I read it. I was in college, and I read the epilogue, and I literally threw my book across the room because it was just like, what am I reading?
But you know what, Mike? Maybe she'll still randomly pop up. Who knows? Maybe she's the real reason why Arya looks so freaking terrified as she's running through the halls of Winterfell in the season 3 trailer.
Yeah, I love your optimism.
I'm just trying to. I know you're so disappointed lately. I'm trying to give you something to hold on to.
Well, we'll see. Now we want to go through some of
your comments and theories. Yeah. So we've got some great ones. Keep sending them in right now, guys. We have Daniela, and she says, I think I'm the only one in the fandom that ships Sansa Stark and Tyrion Lannister, a romantic couple, and who also wants to see both Daenerys and Jon as the king and queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Daniela, I don't think you're wrong. I think that both Mike and I agree that we would love to see Dany and Jon co-rule.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen because
that'd be too happy of an ending.
It's my perfect ending is the two of them finding out they're related, ruling to,
being
Targaryen.
Fine with it.
Yeah, Targaryens marry their brother and sister all the time.
Aunt and nephew, it's like not as bad.
Yeah, that would be my, as far as Tyrion and Sansa though, I don't know what's going to happen there, but Sansa is at Winterfell and Tyrion is on his way there with Jon and Dany.
They haven't seen each other since the Purple Wedding.
Right, since she bailed right after Joffrey got killed. They haven't. There hasn't been a reunion between them since then. So
I'm very excited to see if that happens. I kind of just always want Sansa to just be like single. Like she needs a minute.
Yeah.
She's had a rough time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Isa says Sansa deserves to be queen. That's a pretty good one.
I don't know about deserves.
I don't know about deserves, but it would be cool. I think Arya would be a great queen. But that's just me. That's
what about
just
Arya wearing Sansa's face?
Oh, how nice.
How nice.
How beautiful.
That is devious.
That is devious. But hey, she threatened her with it last season, so who knows. Next one, Alicia. I think Arya will kill Cersei as Jaime.
Would that technically fulfill that prophecy?
Probably not, but it'd be awesome.
Arya has set a precedent in recent seasons of putting on other people's faces and then killing people, knocking people off her list, and that list is getting really short.
It is.
And we know that the most prominent name on it currently is still Cersei, as she keeps reminding us. She said it a bunch throughout season 7, so I don't know.
Do you think she took the Hound officially off the list?
That's a really good question, actually. I don't know.
Yeah. We haven't heard her whisper it in a while, so who knows?
I feel like she wouldn't kill him. She had her chance, right?
Yes, exactly. She had her chance. She just robbed him instead. Calliope says, I see the end with Tyrion and Sansa on the throne.
Wow. So, okay, so Daniela, we got your answer. You were not the only one.
You were not the only one. I love that. They would be a good, I think, even-tempered ruling pair.
Yeah, I mean, they would do a good job, but like, how often in this series do the people who do the good job who
get the good ending?
They're not the ones who wind up in charge. Although Jon is in charge,
Yeah.
Or he was for a while in the North, at least.
Until he relinquished all power, because that's what he likes to do.
Yeah.
Random says, the Night King will be killed by Jon and Dany together, but leading to Jon's death. I really enjoy this theory.
Yeah.
I truly am thinking that we're not going to get to the end of Game of Thrones without seeing Jon or Dany die.
Right.
One of them has got to go, and I do think it will be a sacrifice for the other.
Yeah, it also kind of relates to stuff that we didn't touch on, but the Azor Ahai and the Prince that was promised and all of that stuff. In the lore of the series, Azor Ahai beat back the Long Night by sacrificing his wife Nissa or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of parallels to their story with Jon and Dany, and the thought is that one of them is going to have to sacrifice the other.
Well, and Habo actually echoes this thought and says, Jon Snow might die. Game of Thrones has a way of breaking our hearts. Here's my thing, though.
God.
If he already died, would our hearts break again? Like, I would be more, I guess. But, like, I guess I would be more upset if Dany died just because I don't see her getting to the end of the Iron Throne. She's worked too hard for it. She deserves it, but I just don't see it happening. But if I feel like Jon's already on borrowed time, in my opinion.
We went through it once, and now he's back. And for people who put a lot of stock in the books, he's still dead in the books. That Winds of Winter isn't out, so like for him to come back in the show was like such a huge moment. Yeah. And if it was just for him to die later, yes, my heart would be broken personally.
Your move, George. Your move. Tell us what's gonna happen. What other comments do we have that we want to highlight right now?
Chris says, I would love to see Jaime Lannister become king.
What a fun evolution that would be, from Kingslayer to king.
Right. And my other favorite Jaime theory is that he will kill the Night King because it would be like a fulfillment of his title as the Kingslayer, which is, like a derogatory title that's been given to him because he was a member of he was in the Kingsguard and he killed King Aerys, and people always call him Kingslayer, Oathbreaker, etc. ever since then. So if he was the one who's like the ultimate hero who winds up killing the Night King, maybe he will wind up on the throne after that. It's
been so fun. I know that both of us did a rewatch of the entire series right before this, but it was so crazy to go back to season. Yeah, it was a lot. To go back to season 1, Jaime, and be like, oh my God, I forgot you were a massive dick.
He's a different person, yeah. For sure.
Tamara says Dany and Jon ruling together will not happen because this is Game of Thrones. Fair point,
yeah,
Tamara.
That's basically what we've been saying.
That's what we've been saying.
If it's the ending that we want, it's probably
not going to happen.
But that's fine. I'm looking forward to being surprised.
Yeah. Oh, Diallo. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but this is amazing. I just want Gendry and Arya romance. I don't care about the rest.
Yeah. So this is another one that Arya is in Winterfell and Gendry is headed there with Jon and Dany.
We've seen him in the trailers
in the
Winterfell.
Trailer at the Forge of Winterfell, probably making dragonglass weapons.
They haven't seen each other in seasons.
This is going to be a season of reunions.
So many
as
reunions.
Much as that's been true of other recent seasons, like Starks reuniting for the first time in years. We're going to get a ton more of that, even with like all of the secondary characters.
As all the living is trying to band together at this point.
Right. So do you think Arya is out there looking for love, though?
I don't think she's ever looking for, I don't know. They always had, when you looked back at their first journey together, back when Gendry knew that she was actually a girl disguised as a boy, they had such a sweet banter. Back then,
they have chemistry.
They had chemistry. Back then it was weird because she was really young.
But she's grown up.
But she's grown up now. She's learned a lot, and I think
Gendry looks good.
Gendry does look good. Rowing in that boat, man. Did him some good. Sup, Gendry? You can make the USC crew team. Arzu says, there's a theory that Euron Greyjoy is going to kill Daenerys.
I don't know. I feel like
that's a good, it's an interesting theory I haven't heard of, but if that happens, come on.
I'm sure there's lots of evidence that if you go back to the books, Euron in the show is kind of a combination of a few different books characters, one of them being Victarion, who is like another brother of Balin and Euron. He's like another of that crew of the Greyjoys. And Euron has actually sent him to Meereen in the books to capture Dany for Euron. Victarion has his own plans in the books. He decides that he's going to capture Dany for himself, and he's going to,
do whatever he's going to do.
Conquer the Dragon Queen or whatever. And that has all yet to play out.
I think for me, my main issue with Euron is that they introduced him much later in the show than he was in the books, and also he's such a almost cartoonish version of a villain.
Yeah, he's like a roguish, like a pirate.
Yeah, but it's almost like too much. I don't know.
I agree. I don't love what they've done with him in the show. But I feel like if somebody like him, who kind of was just feels like a newer addition.
Yeah,
even
if
though
he
he's been
was the
around
one
for a couple
to do
seasons,
it and kill Dany.
Yeah, I don't feel like that would be earned.
It wouldn't be a good payoff.
That would be disappointing.
I agree. We appreciate your theory, but we don't like it.
It might have. I mean, like it's what we don't expect. So who
Yeah. Taylor has a weird theory for us. Yay, Taylor. The Iron Throne gets destroyed, and Tyrion creates a democracy in the Seven Kingdoms.
I don't feel like this is that weird.
I love it.
Yeah, I spoke with Harry Lloyd recently, who he played Viserys Targaryen in season 1, and he's in next season of Legion on FX. And so I had the chance to talk with him recently, and I asked him who do you want to see on the Iron Throne? This is on GameSpot.com.
Yeah.
And he said no one. He said he wants the monarchy to be abolished and to see a democracy in Westeros. So I feel like it's not that weird of a theory, Taylor.
I love that. And while we're replugging, Amelia Clark told me on the carpet for season 6, I asked her, who do you think deserves, or how do you want Dany to die?
Yeah.
And she said, I want her to get so close to the Iron Throne, and just as she's about to touch it, it explodes.
Wildfire.
Wildfire just coming right on up. Is there any wildfire left, though?
Who knows?
We're going to take just a couple more comments. You guys have so many great theories right now. Ash Crossan says, the Night King deserves the Iron Throne. He doesn't let emotions get in the way, and honestly, like, who is he hurting?
Who is he hurting? I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty long list.
I mean, is he hurting, or is he just trying to build up his entourage?
Well, we don't know. This is right.
We don't know. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Maybe he needs.
Hopefully, I really hope. You know what, Ash? I hope you're right.
I hope you are right, Ash. Thank you so much for contributing. And I think, you know what, we're going to end it right there. No, thank you all so much for tuning in today. And be sure to join us for Theories and Thrones every Monday morning at 8 a.m. West Coast and 11 a.m. East Coast for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, God, the next 6 weeks. That's all that's left.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're going to be breaking down every episode of Game of Thrones after it airs. We're going to be looking at all your comments.
Yeah.
We're going to be including all your thoughts and all the biggest theories about the final season.
Yeah, basically we just want this to be the place where you watch the episode, you come back here, you freak out with us, and you can always tweet us your thoughts anytime you'd like. Thanks again for watching Theories and Thrones, and we'll see you guys on Monday. Bye.
Bye.